oven. It's Cinema Bums. I'm Wade.
And I'm Emmett.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today we are continuing our miniseries, The House Bummy, covering every film written by Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series. Emmett, how are you doing?
I'm doing well today. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm fully recovered from my sleepless haze on our last episode.
Oh, good.
Which listeners will have already heard. I have not attempted to edit yet, but I'm concerned about.
Did you end up getting a couch ever?
Yes.
Listeners will be dying to know.
We have a couch now, and this is nothing but my own. Well, actually, okay, I'm going to lay out the order of events here. Here's the order of the events. I order a desk on which I will record future podcasts. The desk arrives in the mail. So I'm going to watch the movie, prepare for this week's podcast, and then build the desk. And then record this episode on it. Then our internet broke. And then instead of using that time to build the desk, I left the house because I didn't want to be here without internet. And then they fixed it just in time for me to watch the movie. So I'm still sitting on the floor as I record this, unfortunately. But after this episode, tonight, I'm going to build the desk. And then I will be sitting in an actual chair next week.
So exciting.
That's my moving update. But listen, I'm doing particularly good because today we're honored to have a special guest, one of our favorite guests, back with us again.
Woo, woo, woo.
Described, if to borrow this movie's term, as a big box of cutesicles. Please welcome Adam Hobbs.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Welcome
so
back,
much. Thank you for having me again.
Thanks for being here. How's it going?
It is going good. I'm very excited to talk about this film.
Yes, today we're talking about The House Bunny. What is your history with this movie, Adam, and also with the other movies written by McCullough and Smith?
I would say a pretty familiar history with this one. I watched this in high school, I think, with some friends. I went to the movie theaters and saw it, and at the time I was a big fan of it. I had been a fan of Anna Faris from the movie Just Friends. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but so I was a big Anna Faris fan. And I enjoyed her in this movie when I first saw it. I'm a big Legally Blonde fan, always have been, always will be. So that one's,
Is Just Friends the one with Chris Evans?
It's Ryan Reynolds.
Okay. The Chris Evans one is the other Anna Faris movie I've seen.
Gotcha.
I don't know which one that is.
It's a fun movie. And Anna Faris is especially delightful in it.
I'm just finding this out now. Anna Faris is a fellow podcaster. It says so right there on Google.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So special shout out to her. If she ever wants to be on, we would love to do a crossover episode with her.
She actually asked to be on this episode, but we'd already booked Adam, so
I
had to tell her no.
You can invite her on, I suppose.
We should have had a four-person episode. So you saw it when it came out. Have you revisited it across the years, or was it just for this episode?
Oh yeah, I've revisited it a few times. I think I revisited it a lot at first. After I first saw it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch it again. Then I did not watch it for a while. Me and my boyfriend this year have watched it once because he had never seen it, and then I rewatched it for the podcast. So I've seen it twice this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emmett, what about you?
This was the first time ever. And I was aware of this movie. This movie was in my cultural periphery, but I had never seen it. And let me just say, the ideas that I had about what this movie were and what this movie turned out being are very, very different.
Interesting. Well, what do you mean? Did you think it was going to be raunchier than it is?
Yeah, I just basically assumed that it would be the female-led equivalent to Superbad or Pineapple Express or some, one of those super raunchy, super funny. The jokes are flying over and over and over again, but not a lot of emphasis on coherent plot, not a lot of, and just like some gross out humor, stuff that I assumed would not age well, different than what it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw this movie.
Yes. Wait, what's your history with the House Bunny?
I also saw this movie in theaters when it came out. I was 14 when this movie came out, and I definitely saw it thinking it was going to be more of what Emmett said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very ashamed. I remember distinctly seeing Anna Faris do like an interview on a talk show where she talked about like the naked scene in the movie and how there was supposed to be like a butt double who didn't show up on the day. So then she did it herself and just like decided in the spur of the moment to do it. So I was like 14 and I was like, yeah, I'm going to see that movie. And I saw it and I had liked it at the time and it totally washed over me. I had truly like not really thought about it since, other than kind of like remembering that Emma Stone was in that.
Yeah.
And then obviously went on to be like a much bigger thing. But yeah, that was it. I watched it at the time and pretty much had no sort of interaction with it until doing it again for the podcast. Let's dive into the stats a little bit here. This movie is directed by Fred Wolf, perhaps not very prolific as a director, but indeed a prolific writer. He was the head writer of Saturday Night Live in the 90s.
What?
And he wrote some of like the more famous SNL adjacent movies, including Tommy Boy, Little Nicky, and Joe Dirt. But on the directorial side, other than this movie, he did no writing on this movie. He directed Joe Dirt 2, which went straight to Crackle, and some Alec Baldwin movie on Netflix last year that was called Drunk Parents. So
Nice.
This is the fifth film that was written by Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith. It is their first one to not be an adaptation.
Oh, wow.
Their first one to be a completely original idea. And very original, nothing at all similar to the many other movies they've already done. The score is by Waddy Watchell, who also did the music for Paul Blart Mall Cop. Running 1 hour, 37 minutes, released August 22nd, 2008. Released by Sony Pictures, produced by Happy Madison, which I want to talk about a little bit because they are like Adam Sandler's production company.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a producing credit on this movie, and they have had like some hits like the early Adam Sandler movies and like Paul Blart, like we mentioned, but they're kind of famous for making these like sort of dumb big comedies, like a lot of slapstick, a lot of gross out humor.
Mm-hmm.
And then also kind of famous for doing like the let's like get a bad script in an exotic location, cast all our friends in it, and we'll be hanging out like in the Bermudas for 4 months to make this movie that's like basically just a vacation for all of these comedy stars. So it's like kind of like an infamous hack job studio.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of the rare examples of them sort of producing a movie that they didn't come up with, which I think it's interesting to see the push and play between those things.
Mm-hmm.
But it had a budget of $25 million, box office of $71 million. It was a financial success, mixed reviews at the time. It wasn't, people didn't drag it through the mud, people didn't hate it. It was just like a warm reception, decent box office, wasn't a huge hit, but in the middle at the time. Emmett, before we say how we feel about it now, how would you explain what happens in this movie to anyone listening?
Okay. Have you seen Legally Blonde?
That's a good starting point.
It's a really great place to start. So this is a classic fish out of water story where we follow young Shelley, who has just turned the dreadful age of 29.
She's 27, isn't she? Or is she 20? Is she 20?
I thought it was 29. Maybe it's
You're probably
27.
right. I may have been projecting my own age onto this
I don't know,
character.
because first I wanted to say 26, and I was like, no, it's not 26. That's how old I am. But that was me projecting. So maybe, who knows? She's in her late 20s. She is working as a Playboy bunny at the Playboy Mansion.
Do we have to explain what the Playboy Mansion is to anyone who is on the younger side listening?
You know, honestly, like what I would love to know is like how accurately this portrays the Playboy Mansion, and if that is like, is that a real thing? Like, I know that's a thing that I've heard about, but is it a real thing? Is it really real? Is that a thing? And was it still a thing in 2008 when this movie was made?
It was, okay, I don't know how accurate it is. I tried to do a little bit of research into this, and then I just brushed up against it and stopped. But
Dad?
it was a real thing. Playboy started in the 50s, like the early 50s.
Okay.
I think the mansion became a big thing in the 70s, although it had existed before that. But it was a thing where people really lived at the mansion with Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy, until he died in 2017.
Wow.
Damn.
I don't know how accurate this is about that, but I do know, like, people were living with him and doing crazy things at that mansion for decades and decades and decades.
Okay, so she's there, and then unexpectedly on her birthday, she is told that she is now too old and must pack up and leave immediately, must leave the Playboy Mansion. And this means that she's basically going to be homeless because she doesn't have any other family or anywhere else to go. We're just going to fast forward a little bit. She eventually finds herself on a college campus. And she says, oh, this looks really fun. She sees a sorority house, thinks it looks a lot like the Playboy Mansion. So she goes inside to see if anybody would like to be her friend. And in fact, none of the people there would like to be her friend, and they tell her to leave rudely. She finds out about a thing called house mothers, also all news to me as well, where there are adult women who live in sorority houses who watch after the sorority girls and like help them organize things and take care of them when they get too drunk, maybe? I'm not really sure. But that seems to be like the only job they have in the movie anyway. And this is where this movie started to remind me a lot of Ella Enchanted, because things just happen in this movie. There's not what you would call a line of causation happening in this film. Things just happen. And you're like, okay. Emma Stone is the president of a failing sorority, the Zetas. They are the least cool kids you know, unless you know us. She comes up and becomes...
Speak for yourself.
She goes up and through a plot device becomes their house mother because she does hot yoga on the lawn, and the girls of Zeta realize that this woman could teach them a thing or two about being cool and getting boys.
They're about to lose their sorority because no one wants to be in their sorority.
They've like kind of galaxy brained this, that the reason no one wants to be in their sorority is that the only reason people do want to be in sororities is to go to fun parties and meet cute boys. And because they never have any fun parties and are totally uncool, there are never any cute boys around. So the idea is that they are going to get Anna Faris to be their house mother, to make them cool, to make them throw great parties and teach them how to talk to boys. And then everyone will want to pledge their sorority, and then their house won't go under, and they will get to tell those snooty girls across the street what's what.
Mm-hmm.
Complications include a very young Colin Hanks, who works at an old folks home. And more snooty, like, secretive skullduggery from the girls across the street. A little bit of good old-fashioned self-sabotage from the uncool girls of Zeta. I love, like... I think it's a really interesting look at like what 2008 thought was uncool, because all of those people where they start in this movie is like what we now think of as being cool in 2021. So it's like where were we as a culture?
They certainly become more 2008 as the movie goes on.
Yeah, they get to be more and more 2008 versions of themselves.
When this movie starts, you're like, okay, like, they're not cool, so this is going to be a movie about her making them cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, the make them cool montage happens 30 minutes in to this hour 40-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of just, like, all these, like, different acts of things going on throughout it.
Yes, which you might notice I'm having trouble figuring out what happens in this movie, or, like, recalling it in a way that makes any sort of narrative sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's basically multiple strings going on. Emma Stone, the president of the sorority, really has it for this guy. He's pretty cool. He's got the shaggy hairdo, the Tyson Ritter look, and he's there. And then she's got it bad for him.
Wait, what? Are you making a joke? You do know that he is Tyson Ritter, right?
It is. Is it actually Tyson Ritter?
It is actually Tyson Ritter.
Oh, that's excellent, because I was like, that guy kind of looks like Tyson Ritter.
Yes, he is. He's the lead singer of the All-American Rejects. And every time you see him in this movie, which I think is only 3 times, they're playing an All-American Rejects song in the background.
Damn.
Wow.
Which I wonder if it was in his contract or not. Like, was it a little tribute to him, or was it like, no, you gotta...
You have to do this. Wow. Well, we already know that McCullough and Smith are AAR fans from the previous needle drops in She's the Man. So, it's canon at this point. So there's that thing going on. She can't talk to him because she's such a hyper nerd. And she's doing... I don't know if y'all remember this. Our younger listeners might not remember when Emma Stone wasn't like regular it girl hot. Like, she used to be like nerdy girl hot when that was a thing in 2008. So like when that was its own thing, that was like, she was capitalizing on that along with Zooey Deschanel, but I think she was like a little older. So it's like this whole, she wore glasses, it was really cool. Eventually she gets called back to the mansion, Anna Faris, not Emma Stone, and it turns out that it was skullduggery by that one girl. Sabotage by that one girl who was jealous of her, who had the vicious nip pinch on the bartender, and that's the only reason that the whole plot happened.
Yeah.
This bartender, who we can talk about some more. He's like this very tall, kind of schlubby man. He wears pants and a vest, and that's his outfit. And his character is seemingly that, he doesn't care about anything Playboy. He just wants to mix drinks. And he's, finding crazy ways to do that, and then she, lures him in with some nipple pinch that, is his ultimate turn on, and he can't resist.
Very strange. So then she goes back to the mansion because the girls of the Zeta house are they get cool and then they get mean because they're cool. So because they've gotten cool and pretty, they get mean and they start when they're looking through the other pledges, they're judging them based on their appearances and all this stuff and saying catty things about them, etc., etc. Then they look at themselves basically, or one of them, the quiet one, calls them out and is I can't believe this, what you've become. And then they're you're right, this is terrible what we've become, let's blame it all on Shelley, it's totally her fault. Shelley goes away in tears, classic. Meanwhile, the girls are wait, we can maybe be pretty and ourselves and cool and nice and do the sorority, and it can all just happen, but we'll still take a little bit of her style advice because she does rock it. Then they're recruiting all these pledges. Everything seems like it's going great when yet another twist of betrayal and treachery happens.
Sabotage.
I mean, really, what is it? Deception, disgrace. The girls across the street, they trick the girl who's going to deliver all the pledge notices, and they steal the pledge notices from her and deliver some other ones. So at the very end, when the court hearing is happening, and why it's a court hearing is just kind of beyond me, but I guess they liked the format from, once again, Legally Blonde, a great movie, which you should watch. And they're there, and they're where's your pledges? You have to pledge people now in front of this court hearing. And everybody was we had the pledges, but then nobody got invited. Then Anna Faris makes a triumphant return. She busts back in the door. She's hold the phone. I don't even know exactly what it is she says.
This is it. This is the basic setup of the end.
What?
You've got a blonde woman in pink who people are underestimating.
Oh, right.
Who has come to a court case to save her sorority sister who is on the line, and she ends up defying everyone's expectations and having them believe in her, and she saves the day in the end, and then everyone learns that you can be yourself and be successful.
Yes,
that is the climax of this movie and no other movie we have covered on this podcast.
Yes, and not any other movie. That's it. That's all I've got.
Okay, Adam, the house bunny, flop or bop?
Ooh. Okay. I've spent, it's because I had to go kind of take out some of my old ideas of this movie when I rewatched it and look at it with fresh lens. I'm sadly gonna, I think, choose flop on this one. Despite, I think there are some bop elements. I think ultimately, I think I found it to be a flop when I revisited it.
Emmett, flop or bop?
Well, I'm glad Adam said that because now I can full-throatedly say that I think this movie was a flop. Wade, where do you fall on this?
It's a flop for me, sadly, as well.
Yeah.
This is my take on this movie, and then I'll hear both of yours. I think that there is, a war between the director and Happy Madison, who are trying to make it into, a raunchy, sex sells, big slapstick comedy. Then you've got, Mikola and Smith and the soundtrack, which I would say are trying to make, a comedy that is actually funny and do their, witty thing and also sort of deliver some of, the teen movie stuff that they're really good at. And then I think you've got Anna Faris and Emma Stone, who are just, refusing to let this thing flop and are, trying so hard to make these characters real characters that you, believe in and root for. If you're, really watching the movie, it makes it kind of impossible to buy them as just, objects of affection or as, the butt of the joke, which is kind of what the two other forces are going for. That's at least how I see things shaking out, and I feel like the movie is always, pushing and pulling between those different forces. I don't know. Adam, what did you used to see in this movie that you feel like has fallen?
Really don't know. I mean, young Adam just was foolish, and that's part of it. But I think I a lot of it is even maybe somewhat of the Legally Blonde of it all, and my hopes for another Legally Blonde, my hopes for it to be that, and my love for Anna Faris and Emma Stone. I think that I was focusing on the things that I liked and focusing on what I wanted it to be and not seeing its flaws. And also, I think just some maturing has made me see it differently. I think your assessment of it is pretty fair. I would say I agree with, what you were saying went wrong with it. I think that they didn't know, there wasn't, a clear, this is the direction we're going to go. And so it really messes up, any chance of any of those directions going well because it just feels not clear. And especially, I think the sentimentality, the sentimental parts are ruined because of the they feel like we don't get any payoff from any of those the characters that we actually start to especially I think Anna Faris, I think she has some really sweet moments as Shelley, and these moments where you see a real person that's you start to care for her, but then she's the butt of the joke so much of the movie that it's dude, does the movie even get that she's likable? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I was with friends where we laughed a lot when we watched it, so I think that I was riding that high of oh, this was a fun experience with friends, so it was a great movie,
I agree with especially with what Adam just said about seeing Anna Faris be a real person and then it winds back up to her being the butt of the joke again, which I feel is something that is done way more effectively in Legally Blonde because they make her the butt of the joke right up until they don't anymore. And they don't try to have it both ways until they say, no, you've been wrong the whole time. This is who she really is. Which I think is very powerful in that movie. You see her strength, develop, and it is a character. There's an arc that is clear to follow. And with hers, it is sometimes she's real, sometimes she's a caricature. And sometimes that isn't even scene by scene. It's shot by shot. And it's, I don't know. I have to say that I have been told by a certain irresponsible red-haired journalist that this is the greatest movie of all time.
Oh, no.
And that it was her number one pick as a movie to watch when she was 8. So we can make of that what we may.
Wow. When you were 8.
Well, we also don't have to get into that. But yeah. So there's like much love for it among some people. I would hate for it to go unsaid that there is like, affection for this film. It reminded me of Ella Enchanted, like I said earlier, in that way that it just like kind of snaps from thing to thing to thing, and it doesn't keep a consistent tone. And whereas that kind of works for Ella Enchanted because it's so over the top, this movie feels like, because it's about like college age people and seems to be like for teens and college age people, that it should be a little bit more grounded in reality than that children's movie.
I agree with that. I was even thinking like the opening sequence where it's like Anna Faris's like dialogue over all the pictures of her like as a kid was so fairy tale over the top ridiculous. It makes you think that that's going to be like the whole movie, but then some parts of the movie are very just like real people talking. I don't know, like it does that. It doesn't know if it wants to be ridiculous over the top or if it wants to be real and like more like Legally Blonde and like real, even though like it's a semi crazy premise, it's still like real people talking.
Yeah,
like, real interactions, I guess, because some of Anna Faris's interactions are not the way any like real person would like talk, but then some of hers are. So it's, I don't know, it's just, it goes back to that. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah, that opening is almost kind of like a Harley Quinn-esque introduction to a movie where she's just like crazy and irreverent and making up her backstory. But then we're like watching her on dates and like have realizations about the meaning of her life. And that's like a little bit incongruous with the rest of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that she's really good in this role. And I think like for all this movie's flaws, which I'm sure we will continue to talk about, I think straight up if anyone else was playing this part, this movie would be unwatchable.
Yeah. So many scenes, she was like the saving grace of it, just by how like delightful she was, And I think that she carried a lot of it. And I would say Emma Stone has some like very delightful moments too. I like, for me, those were like my 2 highlights. And I think it's because they, like you were saying, they both kind of like, I think like did care about trying to find like a good performance, and they're trying to find like a real person there. And those moments make you connect with them the most, I think.
This is Emma Stone's second ever movie. She was in Superbad in 2006, and then this is like...
I thought this was like my first memory of her. Because I remember when I watched Easy A, I was like very excited because I had liked her in this, and I was like, I'm excited to see her have like her movie. Yeah,
she did. I think she did Zombieland the year after this. But this... Because she's like a small part in Superbad, and this is kind of her like, I guess, major role in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time we've ever talked about Emma Stone on the podcast, Emmett?
Is it? She's not in any of the X-Men movies, right?
No. She's in Spider-Man, which we haven't covered, but not X-Men.
Yeah. Oh, I used to have such a thing for Emma Stone.
Uh-huh.
That's it. I don't know if I do. I honestly don't know if I do anymore or not. I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen a movie that she's in recently. Yeah,
well, she did Cruella.
Oh, that's
right.
What I have not seen that yet, and I need to.
Yeah.
She did do Cruella, but it feels like that's all she's done since The Favorite, which was 4 years ago now.
I loved The Favorite too. I forgot that.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanna see her do some more things. Kind of like Channing Tatum, who we talked about last week. Like someone who is in everything and then it feels like has not been in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm pitching this right now. So Disney, just start signing. Get your check signing hand ready.
Oh my god!
Because I have got it right here, right now. Channing Tatum, Emma Stone, the Gambit movie, Gambit and Rogue on a road trip to New Orleans to save Wolverine. It's done. It's done. You can just start sending royalty checks my way now, please.
I don't know. I guess she did Cruella. I was going to say I don't know if you would get Emma Stone back in a superhero movie now, but she did do Cruella, so...
This is the moment.
Okay.
Wait, do you have anything
The
to
house bunny. Other things to say about the house bunny.
I love that, like, Catherine McPhee's thing that made her an outcast was just being pregnant. She's like a beautiful woman that can sing, and they're like, I guess we'll just make her pregnant? That's weird. Like, like what?
Yeah.
Some of the, like, choices, like, the things that made these other girls, like, outcasts just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like the girl that's like in a brace, and they're like, you need to like break free of that like medical break. Like, I don't know, like they're all like, the whole message is like she needs to be not in that, or she's not going to like fully be happy and hot, you know?
Yeah.
I just some of these choices they made were not it for me.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole weird Lily thing.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like her being British out of nowhere had no payoff because like she didn't have like that great of a British dialect. I don't know. It's just like so the shock is like that she's British, but like don't give that to a British person then. Like
yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird.
For real. She's one of
but
the
shout out to
girls.
a cheetah girl. Yeah, shout out to her being a cheetah girl. I'm never mad at a cheetah girl being in a movie. Never.
How about Colin Hanks, the oldest child of Tom Hanks, Chet's older brother? How do we feel about him in this movie?
Who is he and what is he doing? Like how?
Yeah, how old would you guess he is? Because he's the manager of a nursing home.
He's the manager of a nursing home. He's obviously Anna Faris's age or a little older, plot-wise. I'm not saying that's how old he looks, but like that's what the plot is asking us to think. But he looks very young.
So she's a year older than him, but they were both 30 when they filmed this movie.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know how many 30-year-old managers of nursing homes I really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
He's just like the most, it like does not even register, like the most inoffensive, vanilla sort of performance in this movie. Like I don't think he does a bad job.
Yeah, his character's just like, I don't get his perspective I don't know what he's even like ever thinking or feeling. Anna Faris on both of these dates is clearly like putting on an act, but he doesn't even get that. He's just like, huh, what's happening? And then he's offended, and I'm like, what? Like, clearly this is not like
it's obvious the only reason she's putting on such a wild ass act in either of those two cases is because she really, really likes him.
Yeah,
and if he liked her even a little bit, it would like that should be like pretty clear to him that like all the weirdness just get around that and be like, okay, no, I don't know.
He's like almost like taking all those insane things like at face value, like, yes, this is like a real conversation that normal people have. And then when she's like, I have another date, which is clearly like a thing, he's like mad and storms off. Like, you are missing a lot.
And then he gets a letter in the mail from her that says she moved to Peru. And he's like, she moved to Peru.
Gosh. It's not I don't know. I don't think much about his performance necessarily. Like you're saying, like he's doing, I guess, what he was given with that part. But like, the part is just weird to me. Their romance, like the build of it is just like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
None of the romances, like for me, like, because I don't know, like the Emma Stone one too was very strange. All of a sudden he's like, no, I liked you as you are the whole time. Either like he was like barely giving her any interest at the beginning, but then he's like, I liked you smart, and like I like you the way you are. And it was just like, but where was that? Because you were freaking out over her when she was like not being herself. So it was just like,
and she does the dumb yourself down thing, which Shelley tells her to do, and it seems like he is more into her then.
Yes, exactly.
Like relating to her more than what Shelley says is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that seems like a strange choice too. Like I feel like they should have inserted moments of like him liking her smartness earlier on, and like seeing that like maybe he wasn't vibing as much with like the, I don't know, like with like the makeover, and he was like, oh, but I just want to talk to you. I don't know. Like I think that would have had a better payoff with what they were trying to do than what they did.
I'm trying to get this idea straight because there's like something from Legally Blonde that I really like is that she's got the boyfriend that is like right for her, that she wants at the beginning, and who like doesn't really value her for who she is, and then she gets at the end, she gets the boyfriend who is like supportive and helpful of her and does value her for who she is. I think this movie has a one boyfriend problem for both of the girls.
Yeah.
In that there's like just these two guys who are, neither of them are particularly interesting, one good or bad. They're just like, they're there. And like, perhaps if there was more of a play of like, he's the guy that I really like, but then it turns out there's another guy. Or like, if you, like you said, like it turns out like the super hot guy is also into smart girls as well as, I don't know.
I think in that way, it's almost a movie without any male characters, which is interesting. And I think probably would have been better since like Tyson Ritter and Colin Hanks both feel like basically just plot devices.
Yeah.
Colin Hanks gets a little more, but Tyson Ritter has like 3-minute long scenes, which are like too hot, too cold, just right. That's basically all he's doing in the movie, you know? And all of like the characters are women.
Yeah.
Even the bad guys.
Yeah. The boys of it all, again, for also like so much of the movie was like, we need to try to win these men. And like that's why they were doing like everything that they were doing was for these men. And then it just kind of ends that way. Like, and they get the guys. And it was just kind of like this girl-led group about girl like friendship, but it was really so much of it was about like was not about the girl friendship, was about like how they can find a way to like win these guys. And then they did, so it felt like the movie was wanting that the whole time. Like that was the ending they wanted. And it kind of ends with like the girl friendship, but even that to me didn't like the story of that didn't feel clear, or like it was really where they were focused all the time, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there would need to be a moment where the sorority rescues her if it were to fully come full circle like that. You know, she has to make the sorority cool, and then they both mess up each other's lives. Like, they make her too smart, she makes them too cool, and then at the end, there's something where the sorority comes back around and like, I guess it's there in like Emma Stone being there on the set to just pick her up.
But what it is that both the sorority and her on their own solve their separate plot issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they meet in the middle and they both say, I'm sorry for how I treated you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it isn't, that they help each other through it. It's that separately they overcome it.
There's just like something just feels not right to me. And this, not to keep talking about Legally Blonde, but like this idea, it feels like it wants you to be like, oh, like women can be this like multifaceted thing. They can be smart and beautiful and like dress girly and intelligent. Mm-hmm. Or they can be anything, you know, like they can be all these things. But it doesn't really do that. It puts them in very clear categories and kind of leaves them there. And like they both kind of fail at like being the other thing. And then they're like, I have to be smart. I have to be pretty. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel like it gives you like a clear motivational like aspect to it that it's pretending like it wants you to find. But I don't think that it in the end really developed that well. Like at least not in as well as Legally Blonde, where it's like we see the empowerment, we see the like growth. Like I saw them all at the end be happy, but that doesn't mean that they like learned anything or grew or any like in the ways that the movie wants you to think they did.
Also, it was all about upholding sororities.
Yeah.
And like the whole Greek life tradition. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Like the great triumph is that a sorority house doesn't close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like McCullough and Smith still have like a little bit of that like questioning gender thing in them from She's the Man, because it feels like there's a lot of stuff in this movie about like framed in this movie as like the female perception of what men want. I think the original title of this movie was I Know What Guys Want, or I Know What Boys Want, or something like that. But the difference between this and She's the Man is that in this movie, she's right. Like in this movie, all guys except Colin Hanks are horn dogs, and they do just want like a dumb girl who's gonna flirt with them, and that message is like reinforced.
Yes.
And Colin Hanks wants that also. I don't know.
Colin Hanks is kind of asexual. He's like not. He's like wants to be nice and not romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either get rid of the like boys or like develop that more. Like, have boys that like are a little bit more developed. Otherwise, it just feels like what. Because that's my thing is for me, I think I wanted it to be more just about their friendship and less about the boys. I wanted them to, in the end, kind of be like, well, we need to like feel good about ourselves. We need to do what like makes us happy. But it kind of feels like in the end, it was like, oh, they got the boys, so yay! Like it all worked out for them because they got the boys.
Well, and because they have this really unfortunate thing called the genre subheading of being a rom-com. So there's like the obligation that somebody's going to kiss at the end and it's going to be like really sweet. But I think you're like what we're kind of running up against is that like the plot of this movie is a friends accepting each other's story that then has like a rom-com ending sort of tagged onto it for no good discernible reason.
Yeah.
But the kiss at the end is Emma Stone and Tyson Ritter. Because this movie knows that it would be weird to watch Anna Faris and Colin Hanks kiss. So it doesn't make you do that, but it makes you think about it. I also feel like there's an element that they were maybe brushing up against of like, her journey on this movie is like rejecting Hugh Hefner and leaving the Playboy Mansion. But this is like an official, you know, like Playboy production basically that like filmed on the mansion and has him in several like dramatic scenes, you know.
Is that really him?
That's him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I feel like they can't be too overt or too harsh about that.
I feel like that's why they added this other villain from the Playboy Mansion because they didn't want to make Hugh Hefner out to be like the bad guy that got rid of her. So they added someone else to cause that drama to get her out of the house. Like I feel that I was thinking about that today. I was like, why is this woman here? Because she like she's like having her as a villain and having the other sorority as villains was like too. We needed just one person causing the. Because this other woman was like only in it for a couple scenes, but she was causing like all this drama, but she was also at the same time kind of irrelevant to most of the story.
Think about how much like juicier it would be if the sorority president of the other sorority finds out about the Playboy thing and is using that to kind of drive Anna Faris's character away. Is like saying she can't possibly be a house mother. Yeah. She was like part of and trying to like shame her away from it, which is like something I feel like they're also dancing around but never quite get to. That. You know, it feels, and then you would have that sort of like one villain sort of thing. Where, I don't know.
But it also starts like her first act is them like making a sexy calendar, which everyone is fine with and like flies off the shelves. So, but I also feel like I don't know how to totally articulate this, and I have felt in all of these movies there is like sometimes an element of like being anti-female sexuality in some ways. Like, especially in this movie when she like gets thrown into the jail with the prostitutes and they all look like how they look in this movie and like treat her how she is treated. Like, that's a bold thing for a movie to do that also is like totally upfront about Hugh Hefner having like his 5 famous playmates who are real people playing themselves, who like always had to stick around him and like sleep with him and stuff, you know, like that's just like a weird mix.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do think, like Legally Blonde, that this would make a good musical. And I'm surprised it isn't one already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it has that structure there.
I could see that.
And it feels like they have done like a very bend and snap adjacent scene with the old folks retirement home teaching them how to dance scene in this one.
Yeah. There was a lot of parallels to Legally Blonde. I struggled with Kat Dennings' character a lot.
Yes.
Mostly because, again, I think just like the payoff of it. Like, because she's kind of like this old idea of feminism that's like, or this like idea of feminism that's like, you can't be like a pretty, like, you can't.
She's like a bra burning.
Yeah.
Men hating.
And like, she kind of, I guess, gets out of that, but we don't really, I guess we don't see her like fully move past that because she kind of is bringing that into every conversation, even when they're dressing pretty. She's like, well, I'm doing this for research, and I'm just, like, I don't know, it's just like we never got to see her kind of like growth in that area, which I feel like is something that they wanted to show, but they just like didn't. And like I think that her character was like so like antagonistic sometimes that it was just like too much. Like I think they could have added some. She like every scene she was like mad about everything, and it was like, okay, where's this? We didn't see where it was coming from. We didn't see what it was like a development there of like why she was like so antagonistic. At least for me, I did not like enjoy her character.
I read her, and this is like obviously putting on and maybe doing the thing that this movie is telling people not to do, but like I read her as coded as queer in this film.
I could see that, yeah.
Also very strange that there's never any address of that. No, like she's only supposed to be going and talking to boys, and like there's not any thought of maybe, I don't know. That's just an area that seems like if you were doing a movie about empowerment, becoming yourself and like owning who you are, that maybe if you're going to code a character that way, maybe like give them.
Yeah,
like,
I think that the writing
partner.
did not do a lot of service to her character. It just came off like in a like not like a way that just like really rubbed me the wrong way. Especially because she was so often so mean to like Emma Stone and Anna Faris's character that are so sweet and like so likable that you're just like, when is she gonna stop just like being mad at them for talking? I don't know. It's just like too much. And it was just like very like, it was so aggressive that I thought there was going to be a payoff of like, oh, she realizes like that Anna Faris's character has like all these things to like give and like is so sweet. Like, I don't know, but like, and she kind of did, but we didn't see that like directly.
One of the girls that I really struggled with was Carrie Mae.
Oh my God.
Who is the one who's played as, like, I don't even know, like a country bumpkin?
Yeah.
Or like a simpleton? I mean, I don't know like what the joke is, but it did not work for me.
No. Yeah.
I do love her one line about the only magic I've ever pulled is spending 9 years in college so I don't have to go back to Idaho.
She was definitely like only the butt of jokes. Like there was no like real person there. And that's honestly, I think most of the like girls other than Emma Stone were just like set in like you are this thing, like you're this person, or you're just pregnant. Like you're either like this character, or you're pregnant, or you're like stuck in a brace. And like other than that, you don't exist. Like you don't have much of a story.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another girl that we haven't talked about who doesn't do anything in this movie, who's also part of the sorority. She's the short one. The short one. She's just there.
Yeah.
And the joke is just that she's short.
She's short. Like, I just don't get it.
The other path forward with this movie would have been that it becomes like Bridesmaids. And you get like 8 of like the best female comedians to all riff off each other. And there are all these like big characters.
Yeah.
And this movie like has the wherewithal to give them each like one funny personality trait, but it isn't the writing isn't good enough to pull that off, and they also maybe have not cast them with particularly comedically gifted actors in some ways, or a competent director, and so that like is all falling apart.
Yeah, for sure.
For the behind the scenes drama, we actually have covered most of it, but the thing I want to mention is that this movie was actually pitched by Anna Faris to McCullough and Smith. Oh. She approached them with an idea she had for a movie, which was a drama about a playmate, whatever they call it, Playboy bunny, who has been kicked out of the mansion, like has to go back home to like her small town in the Midwest, and is like addicted to drugs and like has PTSD and falls out because of that experience. And then McCullough and Smith had this pitch for a separate movie they had been working on, which was like a sorority and a house mother who are at war with each other.
Oh.
And it's a comedy about that. And then the three of them like combined those two very different pitches to make this movie.
I feel like I would have liked either of those movies better.
Yeah. I think the idea of like a bunny that's like left the house and has to go back home is very interesting. That's a weird thing that they put. They're like, okay, put them together. Like, Because I don't know. Like, I would have just been like, no, that doesn't need to happen. That's okay. I guess you got the title The House Bunny because, House Bunny.
Yeah.
Bunny. I guess that's the good thing that came out of it. But yeah, I do think that, like, those sound better separate than together.
And I don't really know why you would go to McCullough and Smith to write your Oscar drama.
Yeah. That does seem strange.
For as talented and great as they are.
Yeah.
Okay, we've probably covered this, but like in the fine wine section, are there any jokes or elements that we feel have aged particularly well or are play much worse now than they did at the time?
I think more play worse than better. Yeah, for like a movie that's centering women, these women are like treated as like a joke so much, and like the fact and it's like so many things about like just inherently being a woman is like treated as a joke, and like you were even saying, like female sexuality is like treated very weird. And I think that's part of like why revisiting it for me, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this ain't. I think it was fun seeing Emma Stone earlier on because of like where she's come from then, like just seeing like kind of the little like the things about Emma Stone that like everyone just fell in love with at first, and like not that she's not still loved, but like just seeing her kind of in her like simple before huge fame performance, and like I think she's very like just like a naturally charming person, and like you got to see that, which I liked seeing that.
I would just say the entire sequence from when the cop shows up to when she leaves the jail. Yeah.
Bad.
All of that.
Yeah.
A big no thank you to all of that.
Yeah.
This is like the larger thing about this movie that we have kind of already mentioned, but it just like is so weird that Playboy was such a thing for so long because it like really is nothing now.
Yeah.
Do you know, like this movie is so about like the things of Playboy, and now those don't really exist. So
I feel like, I mean, it was still maybe around when this movie came out, but even for me, like, I think I thought of Playboy as like a very old thing even then.
Yeah.
Like, even when it was still around. So like, it is weird that they made a movie that made it seem like that's just like a normal part of like our culture, but it feels like a very like an older generation's kind of thing.
Our dad's generation always had the joke about finding their dad's Playboys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know? And I feel like now when people wear like Playboy shirts or like earrings or stuff, it's kind of like they're wearing it like you wear like a Rolling Stones or like an AC/DC sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like part of an older culture.
It's like a culturally iconic thing that's almost separated from what it represents.
Yeah.
Like the symbol itself is like separated from what it represents. You're just like, oh, that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
There was a cooler, the Igloo Playmate, which had the bunny symbol on it that was like licensed, I think, probably by Playboy to them. It was like a little igloo cooler, but that's what they were. I like can remember that, and like, why does it say that with like the bunny on there? And like somebody explaining that to me when I was a young kid. Just like,
well, even in Legally Blonde, she like dresses up as a Playboy bunny.
Yeah. And even like, I mean, not necessarily, but like in Mean Girls, Regina George is like the bunny, like that kind of figure of like the blonde Playboy bunny. I think like they're maybe like capitalizing on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to just bring back a quick a segment of old. And Wade, you can edit this out if we've already done this year before. But this is the top box office from 2008, because as we were talking about this movie, I was like, okay, so culture was dead in 2008. There was nothing in 2008. Guys, let me just read you the top 10 grossing films of 2008.
Okay.
Number 1, The Dark Knight, the greatest movie ever made. Number 2, Iron Man. Number 3, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Number 4, Hancock. Number 5, Wall-E. Number 6, Kung Fu Panda. Number 7, Madagascar Escape to Africa, the second best movie ever made. Number 8, Twilight. Number 9, Quantum of Solace. And number 10, Horton Hears a Who. This year was stacked.
Yeah, I guess so. This is really like that 1-2 punch of Dark Knight and Iron Man are like separately laying the groundwork for where all blockbusters go in the next until now, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the MCU and then all of like the Marvel, the people who are doing like the connected universe ripoffs, and then it's everyone who is doing like the gritty, prestige, darker reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And now those both start like a month apart this year.
I think they've pretty much played themselves out by now, but they are they are still playing themselves out in theaters right now. But I feel like I think we might be in for something new sometime soon. I hope. Dear God, I hope.
I hope so. I think we need to see something new for it. But
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing like they wouldn't like. What movie that is similar to the House Bunny has been released in the last 2 or 3 years? You know.
Yeah.
Okay, MVP. Who is our favorite character in this movie other than the protagonist? I am just going to take Anna Faris off, so she's not eligible, but everyone else in this movie is up for grabs. Adam, who is your MVP of the House Bunny?
I mean, I think I've already said it. Like Emma Stone as Natalie, I think is her character's name. That would be my choice. I think she was not necessarily given that great of stuff to work with, but still found a way to be like very entertaining and like funny and like had some really funny, sweet, cute moments. So I think that was a testament to her talent as an actress and as a comedic actress and stuff. And like she was able to kind of take this kind of not great role and be fun with it, especially opposite Anna Faris, like who is such a like presence in this movie, like to hold her own and have funny moments. I think was impressive.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to Emma Stone that she brings something kind of new to like the nerdy girl becomes popular, then becomes evil, then becomes herself trope.
Yeah.
Because like even when she's like the hot popular version of herself, like you don't dislike her.
Yeah.
And the way she's weird is like a very unique and funny sort of specific thing she's doing. So thinking about her like at the Aztec party especially, where she like really seems to be like genuinely enjoying the bad things she's doing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Emmett, MVP?
I'm gonna give it to our bartender friend. He's just a cool guy with tender nips and a love of wearing
both
vests
stolen my two
with nothing under them. And he just wants to make excellent drinks, man. And I can't fault him. He comes in clutch at the end, driving them around. He just seems like an all around good person in this movie. Wade?
Well, those were my number 1 and number 2 picks. So there is, I think, another good performance in this movie, which is Sarah Wright as Ashley, who is the leader of the evil sorority.
Yeah.
I think she plays that part very convincingly.
Yeah.
It feels like she should have also been in like 10 teen movies around this time. But I don't think she was, for whatever reason.
Yeah, she does play that part really well.
In the last like half an hour of that movie, that person almost becomes interesting and compelling. And you're like, oh, maybe there's something going on here. And then the movie's like, no.
Yeah, I feel like they could have given her like a Vivian from Legally Blonde like arc, at least at the end, but they didn't. And they were just kind of like, okay, you're just awful. That's it. The end.
I am glad that her friend is the one that switched, though.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about the baby? Like, them wheeling this woman who has just given birth in so that her baby can be the 30th member of the sorority, and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Yeah,
it's such a big moment that you think that's what they're going to do, because they made it such a big to-do that she just rammed into the store, and then it's like, nah. That doesn't work. Like, you could have just not put that in. I don't know. I guess they just wanted to show that Kathy McPhee had her baby somehow.
Also, the joke of the Zetas is like that they're so awkward and boy-verse and they have no social experience. And one of them is literally 12 months pregnant and they never address that.
Yeah, she had one boy notice her at the very least.
There's that almost interesting line in the nude scene where Emma Stone is like, some of these girls have never even seen their own bodies naked, so you can't show yours. Like, that's almost an interesting subplot about them, like, coming to terms with their own, like, unique bodies and selves, and then that isn't addressed at all.
No.
They're like, I see that door, and I am not going to open it.
That seems to be true for most of this movie's, like, plot devices. It's like, this could be some way that we go, but we're not going to. But, like, we could do it. We could explore this.
This movie is like being chased very slowly down a very long hallway with tons of open doors on either side, and you just keep peeking in them as you go past.
Yeah.
And saying, nope, not that one.
Well, that's almost like why I like that baby moment that we mentioned, is because, like, from the minute the hands start going up, you're like, oh, it's going to come down to one last vote and the mean girl's friend who she's been abusing. You're like, okay, I get it. And then that happens and you're like, oh, it's playing with my expectations in a weird way, which almost none of this movie is. Except for, like, those opening credits that you mentioned, which are, like, so irreverent and funny and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, let's do final thoughts, and then we'll play a little game here at the end. Adam, any final thoughts on the House Bunny?
I feel like I've said it all that I wanted to say.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Emmett, final thoughts?
I would just like to say, I know that there is a group of people out there who loves this movie. Please don't at me.
Do you think those people have seen this movie recently?
Well, I know that one of them just saw it recently and still loved it.
I will say there's a bit of me, because I loved it when I first saw it, that still felt that nostalgia and like, oh, this is fun to like revisit, even though I was hyper aware of the flaws this time. Like, but I still like found myself laughing at things that I had laughed at last night. Like, so I think that like I still found myself enjoying it, even though I didn't like think it was good. You know?
Yes, I would agree with that. It goes down easy. It is like a smooth movie to watch. It's fun. It's enjoyable. There's attractive people on screen for almost all of the film. So like it makes it very easy to consume.
Yeah.
I did not like hate the experience of watching it, but talking about it on a critical level, I just don't think I also think that I would have enjoyed it more honestly out of context of this series. Because I think it's got tough acts to follow, especially in She's the Man, which I love, and Legally Blonde, which it cribs so much of, and I also love. So
that's fair.
Yeah, if you were watching it as like an overlooked like 2008 raunchy comedy, maybe it would be like, oh, there's some interesting things here.
Yeah.
But as like the fifth movie of this writing partnership that has produced 4 good movies so far, in my opinion, it does let down. And it doesn't feel like it gives you much new, I would say. Like, there isn't much in this movie we haven't seen in those 4 movies before.
Yeah. Wade, final thoughts?
A couple written down. Okay, I think there's an accurate depiction of karaoke in this movie, which I like. I love the karaoke moment. I think that actually sounds like how bad karaoke actually sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, great use of the one F-bomb in the movie where she's standing over the manhole cover and just screams it out. Okay, back to like the very first point that Adam made, and it being hard to like take the emotional moments of this character seriously. I think the worst of all is when Rihanna Take a Bow starts playing and she's like crying in the rain, and you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And the ending credits music video. I don't know if we need to talk about that, but I'm just pointing it out.
Oh, yeah.
That like each of the girls raps a verse in the ending credits.
Oh, wait, do they really? I missed that.
I did not finish it. It started playing and I was like, okay. I mean, I think I saw it the first time I saw it. I noticed Kathy McPhee singing because I'm a fan of the show Smash and was an American Idol fan. So like me and Kathy McPhee have a history.
This is kind of her only big film role. Mm-hmm. Although she is obviously like the main character of Smash. Do you feel like she should be doing more stuff here?
No. I think she's She's doing what she can do and should do. I love her, but like, I think she should maybe steer clear of movies.
Okay, well now it's time for our quiz. In this movie, Shelley's goal is to become Playboy centerfold on the cover of Playboy. In real life, over dozens and dozens and dozens of years, many famous actresses and celebrities were on the cover of Playboy. What I have here is a quiz in which I will list 3 different celebrities, and you will have to guess which one of the 3 was not a Playboy cover model.
Ooh.
Okay.
Did some deep dive research into the annals of Yahoo celebrity news history for this one.
Are you calling this 2 Truths and a Lie?
I'm calling it Bum's the Word.
Oh my god.
Number 1, we have here Marilyn Monroe, Nancy Sinatra, and Patsy Cline. Which one did not pose for Playboy on the cover?
Patsy Cline.
Okay.
I'm gonna also go with Patsy Cline.
That is a point for both. Correct.
Woo!
Marilyn Monroe and Nancy Sinatra both did. Number 2, Vanna White, Doris Day, and Dolly Parton.
I think I'm gonna go with Doris Day.
Emmett, you're doing some mental calculations here.
I think I will also go with Doris Day.
Okay. Are you sure?
No, I want to go with Dolly Parton. That's what it's in my heart is what I feel is true.
Well, it is a point for Adam. It is Doris Day, Dolly Parton, and
These
Vanna
are
White.
complete guesses, but
Apparently, I was reading in this Yahoo gossip page, there was this big controversy where Vanna White posed for nude photos before she became famous, and then Playboy bought them for a ton of money after she was a game show host.
Oh,
wow.
Put them out without her permission. So,
ooh, yikes.
yeah. Okay, number 3, taking it to the 2000s here, we've got Jessica Alba, Lindsay Lohan, and Megan Fox.
It's got to be Lindsay Lohan, who didn't, right?
I think I would also say Lindsay.
It's Megan Fox.
Oh,
What?
wow. Okay.
Lindsay Lohan, right at the end of her run before the drugs and the crimes. Number 4, Janet Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Madonna.
Cyndi Lauper?
Emmett?
Yeah, I'll also go with Cyndi Lauper.
Incorrect. It was Janet Jackson.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
This one, the 80s singer was the hardest one because I kept thinking of other 80s singers and they all did. Just to be honest, I was like Stevie Nicks, and then it was like no, and then I was like Joan Jett, and they were like no, she did. So,
Wow.
Janet Jackson, the rare. Okay, number 5, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, Kylie Jenner.
Khloe Kardashian.
All right,
Yeah, I'm gonna say Chloe.
a point for both. Well done. Well done. We've got Adam in the lead with 3.
I have something to tell y'all about that, but we're not gonna. I'll wait until the end of wait until we're done recording.
Okay. No. Okay, we've got 3 more, and Adam's in the lead by 1 right now. So still anyone's game. Number 6, Charlize Theron, Uma Thurman, Winona Ryder.
Mm.
The 90s leading lady edition.
I think I'm gonna say Winona Ryder.
Will you list them again, Wade?
Charlize Theron, Uma Thurman, Winona Ryder.
You can go with Charlize Theron.
It's a point for Adam. Taking a 2-point lead, Winona Ryder. The only one of those 3 who did not. Well, it's a tight, but this is your chance for redemption, Emmett. We've got 2 more.
Wow.
2 men have posed on the cover of Playboy. One of these men did not. The other 2 are in these 3.
Okay.
Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Bruno Mars. Which one did not pose for the cover of Playboy magazine?
Oh, God. Were the 2 together?
No, separate issues.
Okay, separate. Okay.
2 separate issues.
Okay. That changes things.
Two separate male cover stars of Playboy.
I'm just going to make a guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Steve Martin.
Okay.
I'm going to say Robin Williams.
It's a point for Emmett. Robin Williams.
Wow. Okay.
The Steve Martin cover is very funny. It's him in like a ringleader hat and like tidy whities, surrounded by like carnival ladies.
Wait,
looking very out of his depth. It's very funny.
I love that.
And the Bruno Mars one is just weird. Like why he was the second man ever.
Yeah, that seems strange.
Oh, this is hilarious. You should look at this. Wild and crazy Steve Martin.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's fun.
One more. We've got Adam with 4 points, Emmett with 3. I do have a tiebreaker, so if you manage to tie this up, Emmett.
Okay.
I was just happy with a tie.
This is the grab bag round.
Okay.
Katy Perry, Anna Faris, Mariah Carey.
I'm saying Mariah Carey.
Okay.
I'm also going to say Mariah Carey.
Point for neither. It was Katy Perry.
Damn.
Yeah. Mariah Carey did back in the day, and Anna Faris as a tie-in to this movie. I would guess some sort of corporate deal with them was on the cover whenever this movie came out. Wow, well, congratulations to Adam.
Thank you.
The king of Playboy. So
yeah, the true Playboy.
That's what they call me.
Thanks so much for being here, Adam.
Yeah, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Anywhere that people can find you or anything you want to plug or talk about while you're here?
No, you can find me on Instagram. It's Miss Piggy's Gay Assistant. Or TikTok, it's Miss Piggy's Gay Assistant. Or Twitter, it's Miss Piggy's GBF.
Whoa.
So, yeah, don't let the Twitter throw you off.
Did someone else have it on Twitter? Or
no, it wouldn't let me put it that long. It wouldn't let me make one that long on Twitter. So I did GBF instead there.
Yeah, makes sense. Adam, have you seen Tick Tick Boom?
I have not yet. Yet. I do plan to watch it. I just haven't.
Okay, I want to hear what you think when you do. Emmett, have you seen Tick Tick Boom yet?
No, I've seen a little bit about it. What is it exactly?
It's it's kind of hard to describe. Okay, it's about Jonathan Larson, who is the man who wrote the musical Rent, and kind of famously died the night before Rent premiered.
Oh, wow.
So this is a film adaptation of the second musical he wrote. Rent was his third musical, and his second musical is called Tick Tick Boom. This musical is about him writing his first musical, which was never produced, if that makes any sense at all. So this is a film adaptation of a stage musical that he wrote, which is about himself trying to write his first musical, which never made it, and about like everything that was going on in his life at the time.
Interesting.
And it's directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's got Andrew Garfield playing Jonathan Larson.
Cool.
And a very good one.
The last movie I saw was Spencer, so I
okay.
catch up on my movies.
What did you think about Spencer?
I really enjoyed Kristen Stewart. I mean, the movie was very upsetting and hard to watch, but I think she was a very good, especially for that style of movie. She was a good choice for Diana, in my opinion. I think she captured Diana and did it in a way that suited that film.
Yeah,
I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. The weird thing about Tick Tick Boom now, I feel like, not to get too somber, but is that Stephen Sondheim is a big part of it, who just passed away.
Yeah.
And he's being played by Bradley Whitford, the dad from Get Out, is playing a younger Stephen Sondheim, who is kind of a big supporting character in the movie. So, I don't know.
I've been seeing a lot of stuff about that.
Is interesting. That also reminds me, that Jordan Peele connection reminds me that Anna Faris plays herself in Keanu in that very weird scene. Remember that?
Whoa, she
That's
does.
her.
Forgot about that. With the scene where they just kill everybody in the Or wait, do they not
Yeah.
kill? If they fake kill people, or they really kill people? I can't
They
remember.
kill them all, but then it turns out they're like actors and they weren't really dead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're all undercover cops or something. Her 2 best performances covered here.
You should see her in Just Friends. She is unhinged in the best way.
Yeah, okay.
Like
All right.
she gives a very she dates Ryan Reynolds' character who's a music producer, and she's like this kind of insane pop star, very like caricature-esque pop star that's like kind of psycho, but it's very funny.
Oh, sweet.
I feel like watching her in this that she should have been in everything around the time.
Yeah.
Like she's so good in this, and I feel like this is kind of like her one big movie
Yeah,
that she had to produce herself. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think she's so funny.
Well, we'll be back in 32 weeks talking about the next Jordan Peele movie, Nope, and next week talking about the last McCullough and Smith movie, The Ugly Truth.
And that'll be the conclusion of our movies released for this year, right?
Yeah.
Of new movie episodes for
Yes.
the cursed year of our Lord 2021.
That is true. That is true.
Wow.
Yeah, their last movie and their only R-rated movie.
Ooh.
I have not heard good things, but I'm hopeful that maybe it's better than people say. Have you seen The Ugly Truth, Adam?
No, I haven't. Actually, maybe I feel like I maybe watched it on TV once, but I don't really remember it.
Our guest for next week for that movie told me that she started to watch the movie and then said it was really sexist and turned it off. And I was like, oh, great. So you have a feeling about it. Would you like to be on the episode?
We shall see.
Well, until then, Emmett, any parting words?
Oh, yeah. Until then, stay frosted.
Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcasts. It is created and produced by Emma Temple and me, Wade Lawrence Holloman. I also edit and mix the podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckman. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the 2 best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram @CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week